slippery slope. Once, in the quiet hills of the East, an old and revered monk lay on his deathbed. His breaths were slow, his eyes half closed, yet a powerful presence surrounded him. Monks from distant monasteries had gathered. Disciples knelt around him, and silence blanketed the room as everyone waited for his final words. Surely a profound teaching that would echo for generations. The old monk turned to his chosen successor, a bright but young disciple who had served him for years. He whispered, "Remember, never let a cat into your life." And with that, he passed into eternal stillness. Gasps filled the air. A cat? That's it? The successor blinked, confused. Of all the wisdom the old master could offer, why this? Why a cat? The puzzle. The young monk honored his master's passing with solemn rituals, but in his heart, he was troubled. The message gnawed at him day and night. Was it metaphorical? Literal? A joke? A riddle? Unable to make sense of it, he sought out the oldest monk in the monastery, an aged sage who had lived alongside the master for decades, but was never chosen as a successor due to his declining health. The old monk listened to the young man's confusion, smiled softly, and said, So, he told you about the cat." Then he leaned back and began to share a story few had ever heard. The beginning of the fall. Years ago, the old monk began, "Your master was once a fiery, passionate seeker. He left behind a wife, children, and all the comforts of worldly life to walk into the forest in search of truth. There, near a humble village, he built a bamboo hut and lived on alms. The villagers admired his dedication and offered food, clothes, and reverence. All was well until the rats came. They chewed through his robes, ruined his bedding, and disturbed his meditation," the elder monk explained. A villager suggested, "Why don't you keep a cat?" It seemed harmless, so the monk accepted a small gray cat. And yes, it worked. The rats vanished. But now, there was another problem. The cat needed milk. Instead of begging for milk every day, the villagers said, "Why not keep a cow?" A cow was brought. The cat purred. The monk meditated. Then came the grass. To feed the cow, the monk needed grass, and fetching it himself disrupted his spiritual practice. "You shouldn't worry about this," the villagers insisted. "Let us send someone to help." They brought a widow, kind, hard-working, devoted. She took care of the cat, the cow, the cottage, and the monk. Time passed. Days blurred into months. She tended the home. He tilled the field beside her. They laughed. They shared meals. They shared silence. They shared warmth. Love bloomed. The awakening. A child was born. The monk, once a renunciate of the world, now cradled his infant with calloused hands from farm labor. He no longer meditated beneath the trees, but worked the earth to feed his family. One night, while watching his son sleep, something struck him. What happened to me? He had renounced one family only to build another. He left the world behind to find the truth, but somehow he had returned to it through a side door. So quietly he didn't notice. "It all started," he whispered, "with a cat." The real message. The old monk looked at the young successor and said, "When your master said, 'Never let a cat into your life,' he wasn't warning you about animals. He was warning you about distractions, the tiny, innocent things that sneak in and quietly consume your life. The cat is a symbol. It represents that first small compromise, that harmless indulgence. And the mind, oh, the mind is clever. It doesn't pull you off track in one leap. It takes one step, then another, then another. A warning for modern times. Today, the old monk continued, it's no longer cows and cottages. It's smartphones. It's Netflix. It's Instagram. A 5-minute scroll becomes a 2-hour binge. A casual video becomes a habit. One innocent click becomes a cage. People don't realize how empires of regret are built on tiny bricks of indulgence. It's not about fear. It's about awareness. If you don't tame your mind, it will tame you. The final lesson. The young monk finally understood. The cat wasn't a feline. It was a first thread in a web. So delicate you don't notice until you're caught. He bowed deeply, not just in memory of his master, but in recognition of the battle that lay ahead, not against the world outside, but the world within. Moral: sometimes life doesn't change all at once. It changes one small compromise at a time. So be careful which cat you let in.